Hello everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my YouTube channel for another video. Today I have the Simon Says Stamp November 2021 card kit called Cozy Wishes. I know I'm a little bit behind and it is sold out, but a lot of the pieces are still available, and it's more of a winter themed set. I know it sort of gives off maybe some Christmas vibes, but the sentiments in the stamp set, they're just more winter themed, or birthday, or missing you, things like that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what comes inside this kit, and then we can go from there. So here's the box, and here's the little baggie of everything. I'm going to pull that out, and you're going to notice that there is a hot cocoa packet, which is so cool. I love hot cocoa, and a piece of candy. Then we have this really cool Positively Everything tool. I was really pretty excited to get that. We have the Simon Says Stamp Thanks Sentiment Strips, and then we do have a couple of envelopes. We have an A2 one in soft navy and a slimline in cream. We also have this little information thing about the Positively Everything tool. Then we have a Simon Says Stamp Scandinavian Christmas embossing folder, but I think that could be used for way more than that. We have the Simon Says Stamp 6x6 Berries and Leaves stencil. It's beautiful. I don't have anything like that. And then we have some Paper Rose SCANDI Christmas. There's 6 sheets. It's front and back. And yes, this stuff does look a little bit more Christmas, but you could go more towards the winter theme with these, which is what I did. But it's beautiful front and back. I loved it. I had a hard time using it, to be honest with you, but that's why we get these things, right? And then there's the 6x8 Cozy Wishes stamp set. I love it. It's got some great sentiments. I don't really use any of those in this video, but there are some great images, great sentiments. Your idea sheet, then you get some matte silver cardstock, some soft navy cream, midnight green, and desert storm. To get started, I went ahead and stamped out all of my images using some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, and then I did emboss these with some Icicle embossing powder by Brutus Monroe, and then I watercolored them in my free time, basically watching TV. This one I did on green cardstock with some Arteza metallic watercolors, and then this one I did with some of my Daniel Smith watercolors. And I actually stamped out several more panels, but I didn't get all of those colored, and I really wanted to get these cards made, so it's nice now I have some that I can do later. I'm going to fussy cut all of these images out for you. And in the process, I'm going to have one of my little guys come in, and my goodness, fussy cutting with these sharp scissors and a kitten. Well, he's not really a kitten anymore, but he acts like one. That makes me so nervous. Thankfully, he just kind of wanted some of the leftover paper. So after a second or so, he sort of watched me. This is Miles, for those of you who don't know. Miles is, in my mind, he's a little bit like a toddler. When he is asleep, he is so adorable. But when he's awake, he is a terror. So he just wants to be the center of attention all the time. So there they are, all fussy cut out. I'm going to leave the green panel alone, and then we'll get started with card number 1. For this one, I pulled out one of the pattern papers along with the Berries and Leaves stencil, and I'm just going to tack this down to front and back so that it doesn't move or shift too much. And then I'm going to pull in some Distress Oxide inks. Now I'll tell you, I think this Positively Everything tool is actually really great. I struggle with the idea of my ink pad moving all over the place, and oftentimes I don't want to move my other hand because I'm trying to either hold the stencil down or hold my paper down, and so it can kind of be a pain. And I know it's weird, but I hate the sound that my ink pads will make as they slide across my glass mat. So this thing's actually really cool. I know that I will use it a lot more often. So that first color was Cracked Pistachio. I'm going to bring in some Evergreen Bough now, just to add a couple of dark spots here and there. I thought this green, or these greens, went well with that background pattern paper that I chose. It's kind of subtle, but it definitely lets you know there's leaves back there. And then I'll peel this away and clean up my mess, and you'll see what we are left with. Very pretty. And I am going to trim this down because I want this to be an A2 size card. But before I do that, I'm going to use some splatter. I'm going to use a rose gold splatter. So I put a little bit of water in there, tiny paintbrush, and I'm going to splatter that all over that background. Any of those colors would have worked really well, but that rose gold made me think of berries, so we went with that one. And then there you can see the splatter. But now I'm going to trim that down. I'm also going to trim down some of these sentiments. These are the Thanks sentiment strips. that are in the kit, and I use these for all of the cards I make today because they're just perfect. And it's great because the easiest way I found to cut these down is to line these up in my guillotine trimmer right along that plastic clear edge that you can see. So I just line up the very top and I can trim out the one above it. My card base is some of the Nina Desert Storm, so that was cut down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches and scored at 4.25. And all of my cards today are going to be A2. So this panel was cut down a little bit smaller, so you'll see some of that base, and I'm just kind of playing around with placement before I actually put it down. And I'm going to put one of the strips on the inside because I do like to do stuff on the inside. And then we'll go ahead and glue this panel down to the front of our card base and leave that nice Desert Storm border. I'll put down my sentiment strip next. It was tough. I had a hard time deciding how I was going to put these down, or not necessarily how, but where exactly they were going to go. But this is what I decided on. And then we'll put the little birdie on top of the birdhouse. So it's pretty simple. But then I can't stop there. Even though I've got all that beautiful gold splatter on the background, I decide to bring in some Strawberry and Champagne Trinity stamps. I don't know if those are still in the store, but flatback sequins. And I originally was like, oh, I'll put them on a few of the berry spots. But then I was like, I love them all over each of the berries. So we're going to do that. So yes, I used my pickup stick, some Bearly Art glue, and I put down a flatback sequin over each one of those berries that was visible. And I love it. Now we're going to take one of the leftover pieces of, cut it down, and I'm going to put that on the inside of our card base just to have a little bit more going on in there. And I will have to trim it down a little more. I cut it a little too big. So we'll put that in our guillotine trimmer and line that right up. I just love this guillotine trimmer. If you watch me at all, ever since I got this thing, I use it for almost all the things. And there you have it. There is card number 1. And I love it. I love how this one turned out. For card number 2, I'm going to use that metallic watercolored panel, and I am going to bring in the Berries and Leaves stencil again, but I'm going to be very strategic about which ones I use. I want to frame up only at the top around our images. So I've used some mint tape to mask that off. And I do bring in the same colors that I did before. So that was the Cracked Pistachio and Evergreen Bough. And it did shift a little, but I'm not that worried about it. It's okay. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, just at the top. And again, just being kind of strategic about where I put my mint tape so that I can mask that off. And I'll need another little piece. And this time I think it holds a little better and I don't have any shifting. And then again, same colors, same concept, just using a Blender Buddy. Or a blender brush, whatever you have handy. And again with the Evergreen Bough. And I noticed this time around the Evergreen Bough doesn't show as much, but that's okay. So I'll peel that away. And then we're going to trim this panel down just a little bit. I do about 1/8 of an inch on each of these sides, but I do end up doing a little bit more later on because I want to layer up with some of the pattern paper that came in the kit. So originally I cut this down to 4 by 5.25, but it is going to be a little smaller than that. Because I want it to basically go my front panel, the pattern paper, and then my card base, which is some more of that green cardstock. So there's where I'll trim that down. And I do trim out some more of those thank you sentiments. I also decide to bring in some of the cream cardstock that came in the kit because this is such a dark card base. You could just write on the inside with a white gel pen, but I thought, oh, I'm going to go ahead and put one of the cream cardstocks on the inside. That way it'll make it a little easier to write, and it gives the card a little more sturdiness for sure. So my card base was already ready. That was some of that dark green cardstock that came in the kit. That's the Midnight Green. And then I'll put another sentiment on the inside. These are so great. And I find I use thank yous a lot. So now we can put our original card panel down to our pattern paper. And as I'm ready to glue the wood panel down, I looked at the back and I was like, oh, this pattern paper on the back is so pretty. Sometimes it's so hard to decide which one you're going to use. And sometimes you have to sacrifice. But I thought, oh, that's so pretty. Would have been so fun to like fussy cut some of those out. All right. I also decide to use those same strawberry and champagne sequins that I did, flatback sequins that I did for the previous card. I love the idea of sticking those right over the top of the berries that are already there. And then I couldn't stop there. I had to bring in the rose gold splatter again. I was just trying to avoid the sentiment. So when I do bring in that splatter, I try to stick mostly to the top and center. And that does elevate it. It takes it to the next level. So I like that. I'm not super fond of the dark cardstock and the watercoloring that I did, but I like this card. In the end, I like it. Moving on to card number 3, I brought in another piece of pattern paper, and I want to bring in the Simon Says Stamp Scandinavian Christmas embossing folder. So I'm going to have to trim my paper down to fit inside of that, and I'm going to trim it down to be 4 inches by 5.5. So it will leave a little bit of a border on the left and right hand side when I attach this down to my card front. So I'll stick that inside the embossing folder and follow the directions for your machine. Mine, I actually don't, all I use is the platform. I don't even need the cutting plates because it works just fine like that. And I think this is so pretty, but I want it to stand out a little bit more, so I'm bringing in the chipped sapphire Distress Oxide ink and lightly just rubbing that over the top. I'll bring in a circle die out of some white cardstock, and then I'll just adhere that down using a little bit of liquid glue, and I will definitely transfer some of that ink to that white paper. Ugh, I hate that. But I'm going to cover that up with this image, and I think this might be my favorite image, and I love having watercolored it. It's so pretty. So we're going to stick that down using the same liquid glue. You could use foam tape if you wanted. We'll put down our little bird on top of the flag, and then we're just going to bump it around, and then we're going to put a stamp block on top of it so that everything will adhere. Next, we'll bring in our sentiment, and we'll adhere that down with some more liquid glue. And then we'll get our card base ready, and we're going to adhere that to the front of our card base, again leaving just a little bit of navy on the left and right hand side. I just think that is so pretty. And then we do have a sentiment for the inside of the card as well, so we'll just glue that on the inside. And then when we're done with that, that's going to finish off card number 3. I think this one might actually be my favorite. I don't know if it's just the bird or the image. I don't know, but I love it. For card number 4, we're going to bring in a little bit more of that pattern paper. Again, cutting it down to 4 inches by 5.5. I just really like that. So I'm going to trim this one down, and I've got my few pieces left that I've watercolored. And we're going to use some more of that Nina Desert Storm as our card base. I'm going to fussy cut around this green swag. And I'm also going to fussy cut a few other pieces that I decide I want to see if I can make those fit into the card. But if you don't enjoy fussy cutting, that's probably not for you. But I love doing it. I mean, I shouldn't say love. I don't mind. I don't mind doing it. So now that I've kind of figured out how I want things to go, I'm going to trim down this lamp post so that the bird isn't right at the top. We'll adhere down our card panel to our card base. Again, leaving a little bit of a border on the left and right hand side. Then we'll tack down our image, and then we can take our swag and put that over the top. I'm probably going to adhere the bird first though. And once I figure that out, then I'm going to take these pieces. I'm not sure exactly how I want them to go on there, so I keep moving them around. I'm going to take the glue and put it directly to the paper and stick my swag down on top of that. I do end up taking that smaller bit and putting it under the bird. The other piece isn't adhered yet because I'm just not sure what to do with it. I end up taking it and putting it on a completely different card on the inside. And then I'm going to take those leftover bits that I fussy cut out, and we'll just adhere those to the inside of our card. A couple of swags down here at the bottom, and then a couple of the little pine cones on top. And then I have those 2 stars that I've fussy cut, so I'm going to put those on the front of the card as well. They're going to go down in that lower left hand corner. So I think that's fun that you can kind of mix and match with the fussy cut pieces and your stamped pieces as well. And that's going to finish off card number 4. I like how that one turned out as well. So I'm going to show you, let's go ahead and show you all 4 of the cards that I made for you today. I would love to know which one was your favorite. If you did have a favorite, let me know down in the comment section down below. If you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And as always, I will see you very soon in another video. Bye everybody.